It was a crisp morning just past 7 a.m. when Sarah Johnson backed her truck into the gravel lot at Mayfield Lake, just outside Springfield, Missouri. The sun hadn't fully crested the tree line yet, and the water was still glassy and untouched. Sarah, 47, had been looking forward to this day for weeks. She had spent the previous night prepping her old polished aluminum fishing boat for this very morning. Quiet, peaceful, just her, a thermos of hot coffee, and a lake her father used to bring her to as a child. As she began to unhitch the trailer, she heard the rapid crunch of footsteps behind her. Turning around, she saw a woman in her mid-50s with short blonde hair and sunglasses perched on her head, despite the low sun. She marched towards Sarah, clipboard in hand, exuding an air of authority. "You can't park that here," the woman called out sharply. Sarah blinked, taken aback. "I'm sorry." The woman marched closer. "This lot is private for community use only. You need to move that boat." Sarah stayed calm. "I'm here for work. I have business inside." The woman looked her up and down, her eyes narrowing. "I'm on the HOA board," she said, emphasizing it like it meant something significant. "And you're not on the list of permitted lake users. The lake's restricted to the Mayfield Hills Fishing Club. You're trespassing." "I didn't see a sign," Sarah replied, her voice steady. "There's one posted near the pavilion," the woman said flatly. "You must have missed it." Sarah gave a small nod. "I've fished here plenty of times and never had a problem." "Well, you've got one now," the woman snapped, tapping her pen against the clipboard. "Either you move your boat, or I call this in." Taking a breath, Sarah tried to keep her tone level. "What's your name?" "Teresa Holcomb," she replied, standing taller, as if expecting the name to mean something to Sarah. "And yours?" "Sarah Johnson," she said, pulling out her badge and credentials. "I'm a new police chief." Teresa barely glanced at the badge. "That's a fake." "Nice try, though." "It's real," Sarah insisted. "Sure it is. You know what? I've seen this before. People trying to sneak into police stations with fake badges. It's a crime. Do you have any idea who you're talking to?" Sarah asked, her patience wearing thin. 10 seconds to walk away, Teresa warned. "Or I'm placing you under arrest for trespassing and impersonating a police officer." Sarah looked at all three of them. Teresa with her clipboard, Officer Mike Stevens with his hand on his weapon, and Officer Dave Miller, who looked uncomfortable. "Are you sure you want to do this?" she asked. "Lady, I don't know what game you're playing, but it ends now," Stevens said, stepping closer. "I'm going inside now," Sarah said calmly. "You'll understand soon enough." As she walked past them, Stevens called after her. "Don't you walk away from me. I gave you a lawful order." "I haven't done anything wrong," Sarah replied, her voice steady. "You're the ones making a mistake." Stevens's frustration grew. "Fine. We'll let the desk sergeant sort this out inside. Hope for your sake they don't find anything else suspicious." Sarah stepped inside the station, leaving the three officers behind. She could feel their eyes on her, but she didn't look back. She was determined to prove herself. By 9 a.m., Sarah was already on the water, drifting near the reeds at the lake's eastern edge. She cast her line quietly, enjoying the solitude. But her peace didn't last long. That a white golf cart appeared near the dock, and Sarah recognized Teresa Holcomb, this time accompanied by a man in a windbreaker with a radio clipped to his belt. "Clarence Rucker," Teresa shouted across the water. "This is your final warning." Sarah reeled in her line, slowly, turning her chair to face them. "Morning again, Teresa. I've contacted the sheriff's office. You're in violation of HOA regulations. You are to leave the premises immediately." The man beside her looked uncertain, leaning toward her and whispering something. Teresa shook her head, cutting him off. "Do you have a badge?" Sarah asked, her tone calm. "You don't need to worry about that," Teresa snapped. "Well, if you're going to accuse someone of trespassing on private land, you might want to make sure you're not the one trespassing first," Sarah replied. The security guard stepped forward. "Sir, can I ask what your business is on the lake?" "I'm fishing," Sarah said. "Are you a resident of Mayfield Hills?" "No." "Then I'm going to have to ask you to come ashore." Sarah pulled her tackle box closer. "I'll show it to a deputy when they get here." "That's who you called, right?" The guard shifted uncomfortably, and Teresa doubled down. This lake has been part of our community for decades. Just because some shell company buys the land doesn't mean you can roll in here and disrupt our peace. I'm not disrupting anything, Sarah replied evenly. Fine, Teresa said. Let's let the sheriff sort it out, but don't expect sympathy when they show up. Clarence Rucker, the owner of the lake, was back at home, reflecting on the confrontation. He had inherited the lake from his father, who had taught him the value of community and respect. Now, he felt a flicker of anger at how quickly Teresa had dismissed him. The next morning, Clarence decided to take action. He drove to the Greene County Recorder's office to confirm the ownership of Mayfield Lake. After a few clicks, the clerk pulled up the records, confirming that Crescent Holdings owned the lake and that Clarence was the sole trustee. With the paperwork in hand, he returned home and drafted a letter to the Mayfield Hills Homeowners Association, formally revoking access to the lake until further notice. He made sure the letter was clear and professional, attaching all necessary documentation. Later that day, he delivered the letter to the HOA office himself. The receptionist looked surprised but accepted it without question. "Do you want a receipt?" she asked. "Just make sure Teresa gets it," Clarence replied. As the days passed, the community reacted strongly to the news. Flyers circulated, and conversations buzzed about the lake's access being revoked. Clarence felt the tension rising, but he stood firm in his decision. One evening, he received a call from Andrea Preston, a new member of the HOA board. "I just want to check in," she said. "We're drafting a revised agreement that includes maintenance and oversight." Clarence nodded. "I'll read it when it's ready." The following week, the HOA held an emergency meeting. The room was packed with residents, all eager to voice their opinions. Clarence stood at the front, ready to defend his decision. "Clarence Rucker has agreed to speak tonight," Ron Castill, the HOA president, announced. "Let's hear what he has to say." Clarence took a deep breath. "I didn't want to come to this, but I'm not going to apologize for asking to be treated like a person. This isn't just about rules, it's about respect." The room was silent as he spoke, and he could see the faces of his neighbors shifting from anger to contemplation. "I've kept access open to the community, but I can't allow disrespect to continue." After the meeting, Clarence felt a sense of relief. He had stood his ground, and the community was beginning to listen. Over the next few weeks, he worked closely with Andrea and the new board to draft a fair agreement that respected both the community's needs and his rights as the lake's owner. By the time summer rolled around, the new agreement was in place. The lake was open to residents again, but with clear guidelines and responsibilities. The community had come together to respect the lake and each other. One sunny afternoon, as Clarence sat on the dock, he watched families enjoying the water. He felt a sense of pride knowing he had stood up for what was right. The lake was not just a body of water. It was a symbol of community, respect, and the legacy of his father. As the sun set over Mayfield Lake, Clarence smiled, knowing that sometimes standing firm against adversity leads to the most beautiful changes. He had not only protected his father's legacy, but had also fostered a new sense of unity within the community. And in that moment, he realized that respect, once earned, could create ripples far beyond the surface of the water.